Thursday, we released a 6-page analysis, which I'm circulating to you of the 82-page report, which I'll try to summarize. We found insight into the 7 particular shootings and emerging patterns, and criticism which reflects concerns that we and others in the community have been making for years. The report, like the auditor's May 15 report that has still not been presented to council, rightly criticizes the Bureau for being slow to learn from its mistakes. And that headline was actually accurate. If you listen carefully to what you just heard. However, at least 10 recommendations beyond the 13 enumerated by OIR are buried in the text of the report. We praise OIR for naming every person who was shot by the police and each shooting officer by name at least once, but many officers are not named, leading to the kind of confusion in earlier reports from the Police Assessment Resource Center. We support OIR telling the police to continue asking questions as they did in the Aaron Campbell shooting about whether officers considered alternatives to their use of deadly force. However, while it is an oft-repeated theme, it is one of the invisible recommendations. Unlike Park, the OIR group does not emphasize enough that more civilian involvement in the oversight system would lead to more objective investigation and outcome. The police investigating the police has been part of the community mistrust in these cases for time immemorial. While OIR frequently cites the documents that show the Bureau has or has not incorporated certain ideas into policy, there are often mentions that certain policies or training exist based only on statements made by the police. This is also a shortcoming in the auditor's report. We give examples in our full analysis. The OIR report intends to focus on the Bureau interacting with people in mental health crisis. While it does make a few appropriate recommendations on this subject, we hope there would have been more detailed analysis of current training and whether and how that training could have been incorporated into the incidents at hand. We also wonder whether the current mobile crisis unit could be expanded to have trained civilian crisis counselors on scene but in safe position to advise police who are dealing with armed people in mental health crisis. Furthermore, Chief Reese agreed with OIR's recommendation on mental health issues, but did not respond to a crucial element, asking the Bureau to hold officers accountable if they don't use their crisis intervention team training during critical incidents. We're very concerned that the OIR group did not look at the racial component of Portland shootings. In this report alone, 3 of the 7 victims are African Americans, and there were the only 3 who did not have weapons. One recurring theme OIR picked up on is something we asked to be changed for years: the lack of communication between negotiators and officers carrying assault rifles, an issue in the Raymond Gorder, Leslie Paul Stewart, and Campbell cases. In the Gorder case, Officer Leo Besner did not know that Gorder was in conversation with a negotiator when he shot him in the back. OIR should have mentioned that Gorder was having a casual conversation about his dog. It did not sound angry, fearful, or threatening at the time Besner's shot rang out from nowhere. In the Stewart case, Officer Stephanie Raby claimed she found the best location to station her rifle, but still felt vulnerable, so she justified shooting Stewart in the back of the head when he was reaching up into his closet to get clothes, a fact she would have known if she had communicated properly on the radio, or if it had been. She didn't know that. And everyone knows that 2 sergeants on the Campbell case were talking with each other or communicating crucial information to everyone on scene when Campbell emerged and Officer Ron Krasauer shot him in the back. The OIR solution to give critical incident training to all field officers is a step in the right direction. Chief Reese's response is that such training is to give to all commanders and supervisors. It's not clear whether street officers will also get this training. We wonder if similar communication breakdown happened between the OIR group and the IPR, which hired them. OIR's good recommendation about enforcing timelines to investigate shooting incidents builds on an IPR report from 2011, but they don't appear to have read that report. OIR also repeatedly cites the previous Park reports as required by their contract, but doesn't acknowledge that the IPR Citizen Review Committee re-emphasized and went beyond some of Park's suggestions in the 2010 report. OIR did miss at least one Park recommendation that they repeat in their report about diagramming scenes and including the diagrams in case files, and that was said by Park in 2003 and repeated in 2009. Also related to the Campbell case, in a footnote, OIR points out that the Bureau has not made a training video on the proper use of police radios, despite a 2009 recommendation by the Training Division. It is apparent they support this idea, it's just another one of those invisible recommendations. OIR mentions concerns about prolonged taser use and Park's suggestion to use 1 cycle, then reevaluate before zapping a person again, but it only asked the Bureau to re-examine their policy. More specifics should have been included in their recommendation on how to strengthen the Bureau's policy. In addition, our group, Copwatch, supports OIR's call for and Chief Reese's agreement to look at eliminating the police union so-called 48-hour rules, giving officers 2 days before conducting interviews, but we question whether that rule even applies to shootings. We found 8 other unnumbered recommendations that OIR suggests, including the Bureau should always use grand jury transcripts for its administrative investigations of shootings. And we wish to express concerns about other information that is either not documented or not necessarily neutral. And we finally note that the city paid out over $2 million for 4 of the incidents involved in this report: Perez, Porter, Stewart, and Campbell. We wonder whether OIR will make a recommendation about how to brief officers on their actions and how those actions might cost the people they're sworn to protect, or better yet, recommend that such payments come from the Bureau's budget or maybe the officers' salaries. We do hope that OIR group in the future will bring a draft of the report to the CRC for input. It's something we've suggested since before the first park report, and we also hope that will clear up some of the shortcomings we noted here for whatever the reason is that those shortcomings exist. And most importantly, we hope that we'll look more at the racial dynamics of the Portland police and community. And just with a few extra seconds, I think one of the reviewers just mentioned that Mr. Stewart was waving a gun around. That's not true. He didn't have a gun.
All right. You got 10 minutes, 10 seconds.
I know.
10 more minutes.
And I just want to repeat that that you heard testimony from them saying that the Bureau has had several things to work on for years that still haven't been done. So they are slow to make change.